we've been seeing a lot of stuff lately on the Middle East, and I think that's relevant today. But what is the deal with the Middle East and what's going on?
I think everybody wants to know this, right? Like what's going on in Israel, Palestine? Right. Is this the end of the world? So I have so much I'd like to say about this.
What type of person is asking those kind of questions? Average person, or do you think?
I think everybody is concerned about what's going on there for a variety of different reasons.
Yeah.
I think most people who have some kind of basis in Christianity, want to know, hey, is this what the Bible predicted? Because everybody's got this idea, hey, something about the end times happens in Israel, and I don't know what it is exactly, but I know they go together, and so I think there's a sense of, we did the same thing when Russia invaded Ukraine. There's all the questions. Oh, is this the end of the world? Is this Gog and Magog? And so I think there's a lot of people who have that thought. But let's start though, because I think there's a really good kind of side lesson that's going on right now that I think is worth talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of the news you've been watching.
I try not to watch too much of the news. I like to read more.
Are you aware that there has been an attack on Israel?
Yes, I did. I'm just saying that you didn't let me finish my thought there, but I did also watch some news on this one because I actually wanted to see some video and stuff with it. I didn't want to just read articles. I kind of wanted to see some of the stuff going on. So I did watch, and CBS did a lot last night. Like, they were live there for a long time. I thought it was just going to be like 6:30, like their normal 6:30 show, but then I tuned back in and it was like still on at like 8. So I don't know if they ran something that whole time, but there was an awful lot on the news about the conflict.
Right. So what's interesting to me is that people are having not everybody, but there's a group of people who are having a very difficult time calling evil. So in this situation, you've got a group of terrorists who have launched a terrorist attack against the nation of Israel. Right? That's what's happened. And they have attacked and killed innocent people. They have taken innocent people prisoners. They've kidnapped them. The death toll is massive. They've gone house to house, pulling people out of their houses and either killing them or capturing them.
Right.
So this is,
and there was no war declared from them to the others. There was no warning. It happened.
No, it just happened.
Suddenly.
It happened on a Jewish holiday.
It happened on a Jewish holiday. So, it is not an exaggeration in this case to say this is, Holocaust level stuff that's going on. And it's not hard to say that's evil.
Yeah.
Right? When you're going to a music festival where you got a bunch of young people just kind of out there chilling and having a good time, and you just go and you just start shooting them and capturing some of them, killing them, dragging them through the streets. This is evil. It's evil. And I find it fascinating that there is a movement out there, and it's in our country, right? You've got politicians who are a part of this. You've got the news media who's a part of this. You've got celebrities who are a part of this, who are completely unable to call this evil, right? And they want to equivocate and say, well, there's both sides have their issues, and before you condemn what's going on, you really need to understand the history of the region, and all this gobbledygook they throw at us. And I've been chewing on this, and I think it's important for us to understand why that's happening. The reason that people have a hard time calling evil is because they've lost the ability to see truth. So we had a term back in the 1900s called cultural relativism, and we don't use that term much anymore. But the idea was that every single culture has its different sets of moral code, right? So every culture has different ideas about what's right and what's wrong, and our culture, we shouldn't try to dictate to other cultures what's right and wrong for them because they can be right and wrong. And it's this idea that every culture is equally good. And that's a lie from the pit of hell. There are cultures that are morally better than other cultures.
Yeah.
Right? And what's happening now is, I'm not saying that Israel's perfect, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that what has happened in the last week is evil.
Yeah.
And our inability to call it evil demonstrates our inability to see right from wrong.
Yeah. Could they be commenting on the bigger issue that's going on between? Because this is not the first conflict. Okay.
No,
that's what I'm curious.
It's evil.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, there's lots of history there
Yeah.
in the region, but that's not an excuse to not say this is evil and this is wrong.
Yeah.
Put this response up
I just
against.
don't know. I'm not hearing. I didn't hear those comments personally.
Well, they're very subtle.
Yeah.
They're very subtle. They sound like things like, well, you need to understand what Israel has been doing in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, and you have to understand the oppression, and they've been expanding, and Israel needs to use restraint. These are the code words that we use to say we just don't want to call it evil. We talk about Hamas as it's a military operation. They're militants. They're soldiers. No, they're terrorists, and they're committing evil. And our fear of calling it that shows as a culture our inability to see right from wrong. So yeah, but that's the minor point. I have a much better point to talk about this. So
did you?
No, I was just going to add to, I've heard a lot of wording kind of used. So I saw a clip yesterday, and it started the coverage of the attack on Israel, right? So these are people who left Gaza, went into Israel, right? So it is an attack on Israel, and they started the coverage by saying these events were fueled by Israel's occupation of Gaza. Right. So that just sets up a framework that just isn't fair or true or justifying up. But even in that.
But to attack innocent civilians,
exactly.
I think that's
exactly
where it's pretty plain and obvious,
So it's very subtle.
Us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's it was a military conflict and they were going after military bases. Could you still say the same thing of this is pure evil?
I would want to judge that on its own merits, right? I don't want to get into like hypotheticals, what ifs. I mean, all I can say is what is happening right now is just evil, and if you're unable to call it evil, it's because you are completely blinded by a sense of humanism and moral relativism, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.